It's been a pretty challenging period for Boeing, and often when I say that, I am looking directly at, say, the production of aircraft in terms of maybe public perception. But there's another important pillar that is also very important to the Boeing operation, and quite frankly, Boeing wouldn't be Boeing if it wasn't for this part, and that is your employee base. I can't imagine what the last 5 to 10 years have held, and being able to reach so many different people means that I've had the pleasure to speak with those working on the floor, and they've firsthand said it's been tough, and it's not going to get any easier as Boeing has begun the early process of laying off some of its core employees as part of restructuring efforts that have already been announced. So this shouldn't come as a shock, but now we are getting into those early stages of really getting the ball rolling. The massive job cut, to reiterate, in case you maybe weren't aware, will see the plane maker farewell 17,000 people, equating to 10% of its global workforce, as part of measures to essentially restabilize the business. The plane maker has now formally announced that it is beginning to issue notices regarding the layoffs to employees who will be let go as part of the major downsizing of this mega business. Such downsizing, well, it's essential for Boeing, and for most companies would definitely be seen as a last resort after fundamentally other things may not have worked, or the situation is so dire that really the only way to see any light at the end of the tunnel is to reduce the amount of people that you are employing. Ultimately, the finances is something that's been in disarray now for quite some time, and I'd argue that in the last few months, if you've just had a quick browse on the web, and even here on the channel, it's become a more fundamental focus. After investing a lot of money into trying to rebuild the culture and really instill a new one, the reduction in total number of people employed shouldn't really come as a shock. For Boeing, the layoffs come following a readjustment of the strategy, as the company realizes that it is facing challenges, and this is going to be the new normal for a little while. So how does it essentially make it as best as possible for itself? This very new normal will see greater emphasis on the business really coming together as one. Reducing the workforce is to ensure it is financially viable for the long term, with arguments maybe being made that if it stayed in its current stance and things didn't improve for, say, some time, well, then there would be some quite scary moments ahead. From a lower production rate that trickles on to lower output, and most recently the major strike action paired with the many years of the global pandemic, delayed aircraft types, and I could keep going on. It's hard not to ignore the state of Boeing. The workforce reaction also comes as they want to increase output rates to try and ensure that their business can begin moving forward in a more positive manner. Production for the MAX is still capped. However, Boeing will want to hopefully in the near term reach a point where the increase can take place. And honestly, this would help a lot of elements of its business. Furthermore though, and this is the most critical part, even if Boeing wants to increase production, it's not their decision. It rests on the shoulders of the Federal Aviation Administration, who have basically been governing the plane maker for the last 11 months since that door blowout incident. Their increased oversight is to try and give Boeing time to turn around its fortunes, and with that, they're barring production increases. It's the FAA that have to look at the plane maker and then determine that they want the increase to go ahead, and it will probably hardly be a major increase at first. Boeing are going to have to prove time and time again that with every small incremental increase that they're still adhering to all the new practices that they have spent so much time now trying to drill in. It isn't just on Boeing though to increase production, it needs to also remember that it has airline customers who are truly feeling the hurt and are pressured by the lack of new next-gen aircraft that they are taking delivery of. In recent months, airlines' frustration have become increasingly more public, and some have entered into compensation agreements with Boeing, which is then hurting the plane maker financially, and also from a brand reputation standpoint. This could be the determining factor for why an airline may not go with Boeing for their next aircraft order. Obviously, there are other reasons to factor in, but if they've had such a bad experience, well, then they may not want to head back in that direction. With that being said, they could equally use their frustration as leeway to get a better deal from Boeing for the next contract. The staff reduction is absolutely unfortunate for all those that will be affected. On Boeing's part, they see it as essential considering their current stance. I'd love to hear your take down below in the comments, and if you just so happen to be watching this and working at Boeing and you do want to leave your thoughts, do so. I'm sure everyone would love to hear from you, and we are all thinking of you. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your latest industry news.
and we'll fly.